Okay, so this is your guide to the writing paper for your WJEC English exam this summer. Okay, so the first step is that you might get asked to write an informal letter. The audience for this will be often friends or family. The purpose will be to keep in touch, to send information or give advice. The language use will be very informal and the tone friendly or chatty. Okay, in terms of how informal letters should look and should be laid out, you need your address and the date over on the top right hand side. Then further down to the left have the greeting or salutation. To be honest, this is going to be dear and then the name of the person. Perhaps not even dear. Have a think about how you might address your own friends or family and adjust that accordingly. 3 or 4 paragraphs should cover each of the bullet points given in the foundation paper. For those of you doing higher paper, you'll have to think about what your 3 or 4 paragraphs will contain. Try to cover a range of content and try not to be repetitive. Have a final paragraph at the end of the letter, a very short one, to round up the letter and reinforce the purpose of the letter. Tell your friend what you want to do. So for example, if you were persuading them to go on holiday with you, then the last couple of sentences need to be what you expect them to do and when you expect them to contact you. You need an informal closure to it, so probably something like lots of love with your first name. Okay, now formal letters, spot the mistake in this slide. Often a person you don't know is the audience. In the exam this will either be an employer, a council official, newspaper editor or head teacher. Now the purpose will be to apply for a job, raise an issue of concern or to make a complaint. Just go by what the question tells you. The language use should be very formal, polite, don't use slang and think about needing to impress. The tone will be fairly serious, not chatty and never aggressive or rude. Often if you've got an argumentative issue you will only be firm at the very least. Okay, in terms of formal letter layout, this is what you should be looking for. So address you're writing from and date over on the right hand side at the top. Further down to the left, the address of the person you're writing to. Then just underneath that, dear Mr. or Mrs. or dear Sir or Madam. Now if it's Mr. or Mrs. and you know the name, then you need to sign off the bottom of the letter with yours sincerely. And if it's dear Sir or Madam, you don't know their name, then it's yours faithfully. And you're going to have 3 or 4 paragraphs developing the main points. You'll also have a couple of sentences about expecting to hear from them with a hope of what you expect them to do, how you want them to react to you, how you want them to behave. So perhaps that I'm looking forward to hearing from you and I hope you'll give this your utmost consideration. Okay. Follow the bullet points again in foundation for what you need to write, but for higher you'll just have to think about covering a range of content and getting through everything that you need to. Okay, so with a report, the audience will be often a person you don't know or someone that you know in a more formal way. So it will be the local counsellor, head teacher, school counsellor. The purpose might be to inform, advise or persuade, or to provide information to act on. So for example, public transport in an area, to inform them of the current situation and persuade them to do something about it. The language use, obviously very formal. Tone will be respectful, not rude. There will be strong views with clear points made, and all points will be supported with evidence. The report will contain a clear title outlining who it's for and what it's about. The audience will be established. There'll be a short intro paragraph which indicates why you're writing the report and the background to it. This is where your purpose is established. You'll then have 3 or 4 numbered paragraphs that explore each of the issues you've been asked to look at in your bullet points for foundation. For higher level students, you'll have to cover a range of issues that you think the topic might connect to. At the end of the report, you need to sum up your points and state what should happen, sign it and give your job title. Okay, you then might be asked to write a leaflet. So the audience, most leaflets would aim for the widest audience possible, so bear this in mind. The purpose might be to inform, advise or persuade, and leaflets will tell people things that they need to know. The language needs to match whatever audience and purpose you decide upon or the audience and purpose you are given, and the tone again needs to match that accordingly. Okay, so in terms of content, the title should make the purpose clear. and it has an immediate appeal to the audience in the opening paragraph. Paragraphs should be short and clear throughout. Instructions should be simple and direct. You might use bullet points depending on who your audience is and what your purpose is, so you need to make up your mind. You may well have subheadings used to divide up the leaflets. Just decide how you want the leaflet to look. The language should be simple and easy to understand, and you need to draw boxes for where you would place pictures and state what the picture would be, but you don't need to draw them, okay? Don't spend time drawing pictures. Alright, you may well get asked to write speeches. This is the final kind of thing that you might get asked to do. The audience will often be students in your school, but could be more general. The purpose will be to inform or persuade, but this will depend on your task. The language will depend on your audience. Obviously, students in your school, you need to engage them accordingly. The tone will be generally formal rather than chatty, but again, it will depend on your audience, so adjust that accordingly. Okay, in terms of content, you'll have a clear opening statement so that the audience knows what you're talking about. There'll be a use of rhetorical questions to involve the audience, using emotive or figurative language. You need paragraphs, but no subheadings are required. And you have to write a concluding paragraph summing up the arguments and showing an awareness of audience. Finish the speech with a thanks for listening. Okay, now in your booklet, I've outlined all the different writing for purposes that you'll have, but please check out the other videos for how to respond to these.